Okay.
What's everyone? Trust everyone's well. As I always say, a very special guest here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce everyone from Eltham, Victoria, Sensei Kiley Baker. Sensei, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's a nice day.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And, we are going to get stuck into this one. This is going to be a beauty, guys. So hold on your seats here. So Kiley, Sensei, we've known each other for a while. We our Shihan and so forth, and we go a bit way back, but more so in respect of, being at tournaments and all the above. So we'll have some hashing to, pop up here and there. But here we go. So Sensei, I always start with the theme of current or present, and then past, present, future. So let's go with it. What got you into Kyokushin karate? What got you into martial arts? Who did you beat up, and when did it happen?
Can't say I've ever beaten anyone. No. Well, I can't lie because I did a podcast with the Martial Way a little while ago, and a couple of weeks ago, and so I have to tell the truth. So I got into it because I broke up with my boyfriend, or rather, he broke up with me.
Yeah.
And he used to do Zendo Kai, and for some reason I thought it would, stick it up in me if I joined martial arts. And also I had realized I wasn't doing anything sporty. I had tried tennis, I had tried calisthenics and jazz ballet, and tried all that stuff, and I didn't stick at any of it. So out of, I don't know, spite, I guess you could call it, I looked around for martial arts school, and I stumbled across Shihan George Kolovos' original dojo in Eltham.
Yeah.
And took myself off there for my first kickboxing class. My intent was to do kickboxing originally, but the night that I drove down, they didn't have kickboxing on, so they had karate, and I thought, well, I'm here now. I was nervous and I was scared to drive there, and I'd made the effort, so I thought I better do whatever's on offer before I wuss out. So I jumped into the Kyokushin class. As it was, Shihan George was there that night teaching. He wasn't normally teaching the beginners class, but he was there that night, and I did it, and I loved it. So
what did you love about it? Was it Shihan George? What was some highlights there of your first class?
I think it was all of those things. Like, it was definitely Shihan George. He was really energetic, and he was a great instructor.
Yeah.
But I think what grabbed me most of all was I can't say the discipline, although I like the discipline, it was more so like the structure of the class and the cultural elements to the class, the bowing, the us, all that kind of stuff. It was energetic, and for once I felt like although I couldn't do it, I was still, a brand new beginner, but I thought it was going to be possible. I saw elements of possibility that I'd actually maybe be good at it if I just stuck at it long enough. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. Well done. And I guess for those out there, so how long have you currently to today been doing Kyokushin for?
25 years.
25 years. So 25 years ago, you make your way, you've broken up with the boy, and you've cracked the shits, and you jump into probably one of the toughest, I guess, respected schools under Shihan George. And he developed a whole monster of students. I can't wait to get Shihan George on. But in respect to that, you get your mojo, I assume, and you get into that.
Yep.
What was it like? I mean, you had an impeccable, one of the best fighting full contact careers from a female here in Australia. No doubt about that. What was thriving you to go back 2 times a week, 3 times a week? What was it?
I just fell in love with it. I felt good. I think it's because I felt good after I trained. Like you came away feeling like you'd achieved something after every session, and you were training hard, and I think the progression, like the way we line up in class and everything, and there's that progression, and it's like, and I think I mentioned in my book actually about Sensei Serena, Serena Kukutsa. She was Joe Kukutsa was the actual beginner's instructor at Eltham when I joined, and his daughter Serena used to train, and she was smaller than me.
Wow.
And she was already a brown belt when I joined, and she was just, her grasp of all the terminology was phenomenal. Her technique was beautiful. And there was this little girl, and I thought, well, she can do it, I can do it.
Right.
So I think watching her up the front and me being down the back, you know, and I had something to aspire to.
Yeah.
I think it was also awesome that, you know, since, Shihan Maria, I keep going to say Jibalisco because that was her name then, but, you know, Shihan Maria Rich was also part of the Eltham dojo as well back then.
Yeah.
And Alika and stuff. So there was a lot of strong females in that gym.
Yeah.
Which was great.
Yeah. I mean, we, in saying that, again, you would have had, you know, great training partners, and they would have, you know, morally supported you physically as well in respect of, you know, a full contact style, and then sparring lads and then sparring girls, and you have to in our style. But when you started competing, Kylie, where were you? Where was your hunger there? Was it because your first knockdown, someone you've axe kicked? What was it? What gave you the flow of the next side of it?
I think I really wanted to compete, and because I mean I had done the Ippon as a white belt, you know, the points sparring stuff, gained a little bit of confidence, and then like I ultimately knew that Kyokushin was full contact. That's what I wanted. And as a green belt, a very skinny little green belt, I remember saying to Shihan George, like, I want to do the full contact, and he kind of giggled at me and said, "Oh, my girl, I don't think you're ready."
Really?
And there was no division as well. So he's like, there's no division for you. You're too small. You're too light. But we found a way. And I remember like my first full contact fight was at St. Fidelis Town Hall, or not the town hall, but there was a hall there opposite the school. We had a lot of tournaments there, MKK tournaments back in the day. And I had a tournament against another green belt as well. And she was so mean looking. I was so scared. She had like short hair, like a boy, and I thought, oh, she's really tough. And it was a good match. I can't even remember whether I won or lost that fight. I think I won. I think I won, but it was a hard fight. And I didn't die, you know. So it was like, oh, this is awesome. And I loved the bruises, and I loved the pain afterwards, and I love that because I felt like, oh man, look what I just did. I just did that.
Well, good on you. That's cool. That's cool. I mean, you got knocked back as such, but then you stepped up, and that's been you your whole life. In respect of, you know, you would have seen, like you just gestured, your brown belts, your black belts, and then, you know, you're 5-6 years in until you were going for your first Dan.
Yeah, 5 at least. Yeah.
And how did that go? Give us a bit of a run on that.
Oh, that was a big day.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it was about 8.5 to 9 hours, that grading.
Wow.
That was a long day. It was a big one, and there was a few of us grading. I graded it with Phil Jacobson.
Awesome.
We did most of our gradings together. You know, from about green belt, we sort of kept on par with each other the whole way. We did our black belt grading together. And you can see the photos at the end of the grading. We look skeletal. Like so much. You know how drained you are? And like you can see the cheekbones, and it's just,
that's unreal.
It was and back then, with Shihan George, we had to do kickboxing as part of our short arm grading. So there was pad work and stuff. And I had to do the pad work. I remember after the tamashiwari, and my knuckles were really sore, and I had to hit pads. And even though we had gloves on for that part, it was really quite painful. And then, you know, when the fighting part comes around, it's almost exciting because I had enough of the Irogeko and the basics. I just wanted that to be over, and the katas and stuff like that. And then by the time we got to the fighting, you know, you get that second win, like, this is the home stretch. Until about 20 fights in, and that's when things start to break down a bit, and starts to hurt.
The spirit kicks in. The spirit, though.
The spirit kicks in.
Yeah, and that dojo as such would have had strong spirit through that day. So you guys would have been, as they say, you're in good hands, but you're not in good hands. You would have been.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I remembered because when I was grading for my brown, or my first Q, seeing some of the big guys, bigger guys than me, grading for their short arm and watching them fight. And I remember distinctly, his name was Tihan, and he was a big boy, strong boy, and I think he was 18, so he was, you know, prime, hungry. And I remember seeing him get kicked against the wall, and just slide down. And then somebody reached over, grabbed him and pulled him back up and just hit him again. And I'm like, that was in the back of my mind as I was prepping for my grading. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be fun.
Oh, well, good on you. Well done. Because then that leads to all the beauty after that, doesn't it? As they say, you know, you get your black belt and then you're back to a white belt. So, Sensei, when did you head to Japan? When was your first time you headed to Japan as such?
The first time I headed to Japan, I think was the year 2000. Went over there with Shihan George and Nicole Brolin, Antoinette Giblisco, myself. I think that was all of us, the females, and we competed in the tournament in Nagoya.
Unreal.
Whoa, hang on. My iPad just fell.
All good.
Continue right. Are we good?
Yeah.
So, we headed to Nagoya, and then I didn't go back again until recently when I was doing the Kudo.
Oh, okay. Well, I was
so some 18 years later.
I always like diving into when some go on their first trip to Japan, how they felt coming back. So like felt meaning you would have taken a lot out of it. You know, what did you get out of it?
I got really frustrated because before we went, you know, the guys that had been to Japan previously that we were training with, because at the same time, Shihan Judd Reed, who else fought in Japan that year? Dwayne Harris, Haspain, I think Rasim, and a couple, I can't remember all of them, but they were fighting in a tournament in Osaka about a week later. So we did the girls tournament and then we met up with all those guys in Osaka. Phil Jacobson was there as well. So there's a few people there. And we were all training together leading up to going for this trip, And the boys were saying to us, you know, you can't fight like you fight here. The girls don't fight like that in Japan. And I thought, that's fine. I can stand there. I can go toe to toe. I can do that. I can fight my fight. I couldn't fight my fight. So I was fit as, like, my fitness was never been as good. And I jumped there on the day. I stood on the mats. They've called me up and I've gone on horse and I'm standing there and they're gesturing at me and I don't know what they're saying. And they're saying, you need hand mitts and shin pads. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what? What do you mean? And so that threw me a lot straight away, because I knew that was my best bet, was because I had some power. And then you kind of feel like it's taken away from you with the padding. And so then I realized why they fight like that a little bit. And so there was a lot of pressure. You know how they move forward. They sort of basically lean on you. And I really struggled. I know the first fight I took the girl to, and was it the first fight? I think I won the first fight after the extension. I lost the second fight. And I just really struggled. Like I was so frustrated because I didn't get hit at all. Sorry, I got hit.
I know what you mean.
I know what you mean. Nothing went through, and I didn't win either, right? I didn't win either. But I felt like I am one of those fighters who moves a lot, so it probably looked like I lost. And I didn't feel like I had, because I was trying to move a lot to counter and get a space to line up a good one, and I just didn't get that space. So it was a big learning curve, because I just couldn't fight the way I fought. And I was annoyed that I didn't listen to people before I went.
Well, you definitely, well then in Australia as such, I mean, off the top of your head, and not to, you know, put you on the spot, how many titles have you won here in Oz? In
5 Victorian championships. I've got a title belt from the World Ring Karate. But,
I remember.
With Holly. So that one, but I won that by disqualification. But that was one of the hardest fights I've ever done. And the disqualification came because she got frustrated, and then because she was a world champion kickboxer, she was elbowing me in the throat and stuff. So, which meant I put her under pressure, right? So you know, but it's just But I've got that. You know, I've won lots of you know, the ring karate events that you were in, the Australia versus Japan. That one, a couple of others. So
I'm alluding to the consistency that you had, Kylie, you know, it was amazing from a lad that started in 2000 to seeing, you know, following you as such. Your consistency was second to none, you know, always fit, always strong, always competitive. And what I'm alluding to is you're always up there with the best, meaning what continued to thrive you. You know, you again, we've heard how your showdown went. We heard how you got that hunger, that passion, and then you've gone to Japan for a little taste of it, and then you've just come back and you continue to just, you know, dominate. What was the consistency? What was that motivation? And more from that female angle I'm targeting here. You know, you're, you know, I spoke with Senpai Michelle prior to you, so in respect of how her journey was, and then leading into then family, kids, and then I progress in that manner. So can you share with us, you know, did you see a window where you were like, shit, I've got to go now, if kids are coming in X amount of years, or what was it?
Kids were a surprise, but actually, in regards to Michelle, she was my first ever opponent in their non-contact tournament. I've got a photo.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, she was my first ever fight, which is cool. But I think for me, no, I wasn't fighting because I was thinking about kids. As I said, the kids was a surprise.
Sure.
Each one, and actually, it's worth noting that each time I got pregnant, I was training for a fight. I think that says something about training. But anyway, we'll leave that alone. But I think for me, it was the team.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I obviously had the passion and the drive, and I had something to prove, not to anyone else. I had it to prove to myself. It was always to prove to myself that I could do it. Right. I think, and it started when Shihan initially said no. You know, it was like, no, yes, I can. Yeah. So I think that was a big driver, and then obviously the ongoing success. But as a team, like, we just had such a strong unit.
Yeah.
You know, there were so many of us. We fought together. We went out for dinner after fight class on a Friday night.
Yeah.
We were always, you know, each other's company. We'd train on weekends. We're going to camps together. Like, my whole life pretty much revolved around, it still does.
Yeah.
Around karate in the dojo, albeit it's mine now. It's not me part of something. It's me running something. But it's still very much the same. The passion is still there. I still love it. And I love it because I think it makes me a better person.
Very good. No, so there you go. You know, you've cleared it all up for me there, especially with the kids side of it. But again, so, you know, you were an instructor. So you've got you've completed successfully in competition, and then the time will start, you know, as all fighters go through that phase of, look, I can continue on and have a crack, but then that next generation. And there's a big part here that I want to share, because a lot of the work that Sensei Kiley does is a full-time job as such, occupation and profession, in running Eltham Martial Arts Academy. So, Sensei, when you were starting to transition out of that fighting student mode, out of, you know, being under Shihan George as such, it was time for you to go. How were you feeling? When did that happen? And you know, how did you, because a lot of there's not too many females that run karate schools around the world. And this is the other side of it, that, you know, what was it that made you go full steam?
It's funny because my journey hasn't really followed that traditional path. When I did most of my fighting, I was teaching too. So I started teaching early on as a black belt. Shihan put me in, Shihan George put me in control of the Alpha Dojo early on, which unfortunately was when I was an early black belt, and there were higher ranks there, but they just couldn't take on the managing responsibility. Yeah. So I don't think everybody was entirely happy about that at the time, and I lost a few students. But I pushed through. And I was working full-time in the City Dojo at that time, and running the Eltham Dojo a few nights a week, and I was teaching at Northgate and Coburg as well. Wow. So Northgate twice a week, Coburg every Friday. So I was Monday, Wednesday at the Eltham in the evenings, Monday, Wednesday at Eltham, Tuesday, Thursday at Northgate, and Friday at Coburg. And every day I was in the city. And then I would leave Coburg and leave Northgate and go back to the city for classes, for my training. So I was teaching the city classes during the day as well, and then doing my training of an evening. And when I fought Holly, I was teaching full time for Shihan George, because I remember, like, I was training in between classes and in between. You know, I worked reception during the day, So if nobody was in the dojo, I'd be in the gym or doing something if I didn't have tasks to do behind reception.
Sure.
So I was pretty much full time then, even then. Like I said, my whole life pretty much revolved around, that was pre-kids.
Yeah.
Then I started to transition out when I took over the Eltham dojo. I was still running that a few nights a week and still training in the city. When I had my daughter is when I did the complete separation, where I wasn't so much training in the city anymore, but I was still teaching only. It wasn't a full-time dojo back then, the Eltham dojo.
Gotcha.
I only had classes twice a week. Then I amped it up to 3 times a week before I moved it to full-time center.
When did that happen?
So
when did you?
The full-time, yeah, I can't actually remember. Well, it was 7 years at the primary school hall, so probably about 2007, I think.
So about 13 years, full-time academy. Unreal. Wow. I mean, you know, the other side of this is, you know, it's, I put it in respect of, you know, it's entrepreneurial. It's not just, you know, oh yeah, I just run a karate school. You've got to maintain, you know, you've got to maintain everything here. So, you know, I credit you for that big time, you know, in respect of running a business. It's your business, it's your livelihood. You know, it's quite an achievement. And from, you know, in respect of also, I think one of the things I caught there with the amount of, in learning just how you taught in other locations. So you would have had a massive influence to a lot of people, Sensei. And that was one thing that I wanted to bring up as well with that side of it has to also, and I know you personally on it and you get encouraged by it, but that's something also that we, I guess, dismiss a little bit, you know, the influence and the mentorship and coaching. And, you know, some senseis are not just a karate teacher, they're all things, you know. How have you, I mean, you're a mother, you've got, you know, I was talking to Senpai Michelle about it. She's our mother in our dojo as such, making sure that things are all under control as such with all this ego and all this testosterone. How have you, you know, how'd you go with all that as well?
To be honest, I don't notice a difference. I probably think I'm more like a boy than a girl sometimes, in that respect. But of course there is that motherly thing. I've got to tell you, like, the way I teach kids has changed dramatically since having my own.
Okay.
So,
good point.
You know, I learned how to teach off of Shihan George Kolovos predominantly. My teaching style comes from him and Sensei Shihan Maria.
Yeah.
And, you know, those that I've had a close relationship with, Shihan Judd. But probably I'm more like Shihan George, I think, in terms of my teaching, just because of the time spent. And so when I first started teaching, you know, I was very different than what I am now since having kids. I think I'm actually, some of my juniors that have been with me, I've got some families that have been with me for about 15 years. And, you know, I remember his name's Jonathan Cheng, and he said to me the other day, I think he's 25 or something now, which is scary, makes me sound old. But I think because he was like 8 or something when he started. Is that about right? Anyway, so he said to me, he saw one of the kids' classes and he goes, oh, you were so much harder on us. So, but I don't know. Like, definitely having kids has changed my teaching style. But
what do you mean? What do you mean?
I think I'm just more understanding and more patient.
Right.
Understanding, patient. I'm still strict, but I have a joke with the kids. But I'm still strict. But I know I was much more strict. You know. But in terms of, there was something else. You touched on something else. Oh, there was another part to that.
The balance between
mentorship.
There you go. The balance between that now, so you can be strict, but you've also got to understand potential, and you've got responsibility, and then you've got them. You know, you don't want to scare them, as in, you know, your students away and all the above, and the upbringing that you had as well, and so forth. And I mean, most of us are going through that. Oh, I imagine we showed them what we used to do, and all that lingo, and it's like
back in the day.
Yeah. but you know, I mean, you know, you run your full-time academy, and you've got other disciplines and other arts in there as well. You know, how is that balance been in respect of, you know, you study other arts as well, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I love that about the dojo. You know, Sosai used to say that you should never be ignorant of other styles and stuff like that, and 100%, you know. And I love the fact that we have the other arts. I love it for two reasons. One, because it gives me access. So I get to try it. And two, because you get that influence and people cross-train, and it breeds a lot more respect. You know, you get somebody who thinks that they can, well, I'm one of them, thought that I could handle myself pretty good and strike, and then you get into the BJJ class and, you know, you get your butt handed to you and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So you can't afford to be complacent, and you can't afford to be ignorant. And I think it enhances what you already know.
Yeah. And that's a nice segue towards the fact that time-wise, you have that luxury, luxury brought upon by your hard work, not just because. But how do you see I guess the role still of what Kyokushin does to the kids, and how that next generation as such is still, you know, from what you saw maybe when you were and what you did 15 years ago to now?
Yeah, there's a definite shift, I reckon, in how far we can push kids. I've noticed a distinct difference. I also noticed, and this could be controversial, but I don't really care, that there's a distinct difference in the numbers of kids with learning disorders, you know, autism, Asperger's, that kind of stuff. I don't see that as a challenge. I think it's a real, well, it is a challenge, but I like that challenge because it forces you to rethink your teaching strategies and stuff like that. And it definitely reaffirms the belief that I have that Kyokushin is for everyone. But I love the fact that kids are doing Kyokushin, and so many times parents will come and say to me, oh, you know, because sometimes you think kids don't listen in class, we talk and you don't listen in class. And then one of them, you know, the mums will come and say to me, you know, so-and-so said this today, Caitlin said this today, and it was something that I'd said in class, you know, 3 weeks ago, and it was a positive thing, like, oh, they were going bike riding, and she's like, oh, you're tired? She goes, nah, I've still got 60% in the tank, you know, like stuff like that.
Very good.
So which actually come from Shihan Cameron Quinn, and then I've said it, and then she's taken it on board. So that's when you realize, you know, getting back to you talking about mentorship and influence before, we do have a very big influence over the kids, and things we say are important. I've definitely had feedback from parents where the kids have said, you know, something that I've said in class, and they're happy about it. So, that's really important. But there's a book, there's actually a TED talk, famous one by a woman called Angela Duckworth. She also has the book by the same title called Grit. Yes. You've heard about it?
Read it. Yep.
Read it. Fantastic. And so I so believe that Kyokushin, or any good martial arts school that has strong sense of discipline and hard training is going to give kids grit. And if grit is what makes our kids successful, then by all means Kyokushin becomes essential, right? Yeah.
Hey, you nice other segue towards you're an author. Can you share with everyone the title of your book, and more so the meaning? And go for it. Put it up. Fantastic. Woo! There it is. Mother Lover, Woman Warrior. I bought it for my wife. She loved it. I've read it. It's a beautiful book. Well done. So in respect to that, you know, how long did that take you to do, and what was your passion, I guess, or mission behind that?
Now, the mission was born because obviously I had a lot of female clients, and we'd have a lot of conversations, and there kept being recurring themes in the conversations that I'd had. And also I really felt like my martial arts training made me withstand, you know, the stuff that I've gone through in my life. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know how I would have come out of it all. So I had a message that I wanted to get across to people about training and how it can enhance your whole life. But I originally, it was going to be a workbook for my clients. It was just going to be something where I put down things that I thought were important about training and ideas and stuff. And then that just sort of grew, and it grew into a book.
It reminds me of Shihan Cameron when he created his book, which is just being republished, and he was like, "Oh, I was just doing it to help the students," and then it's boom. So that's cool. Yeah. Hey, and that's that. You know, as such, are you looking at? Is that, you know, from an author level and from your talent there and your hard work? Is there another one? Is there something else, or is that just
Uh-huh. I have written another book, but it's a kid's book, a picture book.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Waiting for Sanjay. It's about my son.
Yeah, that's
But
what
it's kind of an educational book because I'm trying to get it across were the things that, well, it was, again, coming from a mother's perspective about I'm always waiting for my son. And I threatened him for ages I was going to write a book called Waiting for Sanjay because it's all I ever say. You know, come on, Sanjay, and we're always waiting for you, Sanjay.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a joke, and then I actually wrote it. But it was more to sort of say the end of the book was about, yes, I'm waiting for Sanjay, but maybe I need to slow the, I need to slow down a little bit. And maybe I'm not waiting for Sanjay. Maybe he wants time with me. So it was kind of
cool.
A bit of a twist on that. I have written another book as well. But I read it to my class on my online training the other night, the juniors.
Right. Cool.
Another kid's book about how karate can help people stand up to bullying, not because of the fighting, but more so about the mindset about sticking up for others and sticking together and working as a team and stuff like that, and having the confidence to do that, which you've built through training. So it is a kid's book. It's a rhyming book, but it's talking about that issue. I just haven't published that one yet.
What are you seeing out in the environment? I mean, you've got kids at school, you're teaching it every day. What are you seeing with, and more so, not a tip, but I guess an advice out there for parents that might be listening and others that are got kids that are already doing a form of martial art? What's your advice in regards to what you're seeing in the environment? Is it the side of, like you kind of gestured, some of those kids that have those difficulties and those, but are you seeing something that we need to all be, across aware? What's something you can share that we have to be cautious of? Is it listening more to them? Is it waiting for them? Is it, what are you feeling when I raise that?
In terms of messages for kids, like with the training, I think what I love about karate the most for the kids is that you can push them really hard in a safe environment where they can feel confident to really go to that, that place where they're uncomfortable, which I think is really important in life. And if that's not a skill that you've garnered early on, how are you going to do that when you're an adult, when you don't want to go to work? When you don't want to do this and you don't want to do that, and you're having to do all the things you don't want to do. So I think that's important. The other thing that I love about it is they lose sometimes.
Right.
It's really important. And I think sometimes nowadays there's this tendency to make everybody happy all the time. And that's not life. That's not indicative of how life is later on, So let's prepare our kids for that now. So I love the fact that when they go to tournaments, they don't win all the time. In fact, a lot of the times we lose. And so what do you then do with that? How do we, and then it's a really big responsibility for coaches, instructors, and the parents. But I think it's the coach's job to help the parents with that too, because parents don't really know sometimes the right things to say to their kids after they've lost. In fact, I've got a video on my, on my YouTube channel about top three things not to say to fighters after they lose, because it's really handling, that's really important, because how they handle loss again gets carried through everything else that they do, right? So, and then of course there's the fitness and health element. There's that I want to get my black belt and I can't just get it because it's Kyokushin and you're going to have to work for this. And so not quitting and not allowing them to quit. And I think sometimes kids quit, not because the kids quit, because the parents quit.
Hey, that's great points. Great answers. They're good. They've inspired me a little bit more there. Yeah, just in preparing them for later as well, and gesturing that. And the loss scenario. It's the upbringing. I'm not sure. Did you play any other sport, or did you do anything other than you said you did all those other types?
Jazz, ballet, calisthenics. I did tennis, but only because my friend's coach was cute.
See, the sports side that my background came from was, and the discipline my dad and mum set for me was just you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but you get another shot. Now the other shot means in karate, where I tell my kids, I haven't really developed the kids yet into the win-loss stage. I've got a lot to do, a lot of work ahead of me in the next year or two.
Well, you've got a lot of new students too. You got a new student base, so
yeah. So I'll be building that up. But what I'm alluding to is in Kyokushin, in tournaments, we don't have one every week. We don't have a situation that allows you to just go back in and fix it up and get a W, get the win, and that instills even more of a hard ethic and more of a hard discipline in the kids responding towards, well, when's the next one? But it also, there's a yin yang to it. It allows them to get back in the dojo, allows them to work hard, but and then they can win or they can lose. They lose, they go, shit, what was all that for? But no, they're good points that you raise. I appreciate that.
No worries. Thank you.
Yep.
Back in the day, Shihan George, I remember when they were for Ippon tournaments, right? They were teams tournaments.
Yeah.
And the teams tournaments was cool, even for adults, but for juniors as well. You'd have to spar in class to win your place on those teams. Do you know what I mean? So, and again, there's that thing about losing and not winning a place on the team and handling that. And I think that doesn't happen a lot these days.
Yeah.
Do you know, like where you have to fight your way just to be on a team, just to go and fight to maybe win or maybe lose. So inter club sparring days is fun too. Sometimes when I've got kids leading up to tournaments, we set up a little we have to set up a mat. The mats are on the floor, but I put 4 corners or 2 corners and a judge in the center, and we go first to 3, and we just we do that competition. First to 3 wins.
Oh, that's good.
And so that can be fun to do in class as well, because there isn't a lot of opportunity for competition, as you say, and it can be months in between. So keeping that motivation up is hard, but little in class things can be fun too. Yeah.
Very good, Sensei. The present is such, and the future from here for you. You've devoted, I'm not, more than half your life. Obviously, you're not 50 years old, are you?
No, thank you.
I knew you'd take that joke well. So half your life is devoted to this now. So much more, as we say, so much more to do. And you're someone on that pattern. So much more to do, so much more to learn, so much more to give back. How are you feeling in respect of this COVID situation? But more so, what are you preparing in talking to, parents, kids, and everyone, instructors that are listening to this as well? What's your, positive mindset here in helping, what's ahead and then where to?
Well, it's obviously been a roller coaster. When it first happened, I was all, we're going to be back. We're going to be strong. And then, 2 days later, I'm having a mental breakdown in the park in tears, and some woman's coming up asking me if I'm okay. And I'm embarrassed. And then I'm all inspired again the next day. And it's definitely been a roller coaster because, and look, I'm really lucky. I know lots of gyms are lucky. I think particularly Kyokushin gyms over other gyms are particularly lucky. Some BJJ schools too, depending, where members are still wanting to contribute fee-wise to ensure that we're there when everything settles back down. But obviously, as it continues to drag on, you're losing people more and more as their situation changes as well. So, look, I think I feel the love and I feel the support, and I'm really grateful for those that have continued to, where possible, make payments. So I'm positive at this point that we can get through. And come out on the other side, and not because of the government or anything like that, although there is help. It's funny because some businesses get help and some just miss out, and sole traders don't get as much support and stuff like that. So it's been a bit iffy at times, but at the end of the day, look, I clawed and scratched my way to build that dojo to what it is today, and I don't intend to quit, or sensation, all that kind of stuff. I don't intend to quit. So I mean for it to be there. But I think people have to come back. What I'm hoping is that people come back and remember why, and remember what they missed.
Yes.
Yeah, because while we haven't been able to train, people need to go, what am I missing out on? And there's this community and this support network. And this is where we know that it's not just karate. Bingo. Because some people, it was their place to go to. It was their home away from home. For people who are socially awkward and stuff like that. And that was
Sure.
where they got their socializing. There's families where they're not, or relationships that aren't happy, and this was their time away. This was their medicine, and I think the dojo is so much more than that. And it's for me too, the dojo, I don't want to say I had a terrible family. I didn't, but I still today don't have a close relationship. Right. I don't know my real father. I don't have the best relationship with my parents as it is. So for me, male role models came in the form of male instructors.
Gotcha.
And people that I admired. So, role models and stuff like that for kids. I'm a single parent, so I know, that kids need a male figure. And if that comes in the form of a martial arts instructor, then great. So I think there's so many things to be gotten from the dojo that we have to know it's not just about martial arts. And we should know that even more so now. So coming back, I think it's really important that people remember how much we need our sport or our martial arts, the discipline. And Shihan Quinn was just talking about it yesterday. You were there, you logged in.
Yes.
Lesson. I'm not sure if you came in just before that, where he mentioned my dojo, and I said, let's hope it's still there. And he touched on the fact that it's been quite evident that people don't know how to be with themselves.
That's right.
So having the place to go to,
No, I knew I'd catch you. That was gold. Well done. You put it perfectly in respect of, I kind of felt your answer because I know you, but for others listening, how good's that, in appreciating more so, yes, your health and well-being, but also that place, the dojo, is so important. And it pushes you guys, it pushes you. And Sensei Kiley's seen it, been there, done that. And now she's doing it for others. And, in the community up in Eltham as such, has a big influence towards, the kids and the adults that are coming into that facility. It's not just a dojo there, it's a home. There's no doubt about it. You must check it out.
Absolutely. Sensei,
from here, you've been on your third Dan for a while. I'm not going to try and be political. I'm not going to be political in any way, but I want to share with others, the promotion as such, or the kohai in going towards, your fourth dan and working towards that. What's something that, you continue to aspire? And I mean it humbly in respect of, you might go, I don't care about it, but it is still something that, all teachers aspire to. It's part of your well-being as such. It's in the blood. So is there something that you're, continuing to develop within your craft, or are you something that, are you on the merit of now going, it's just who I am. I just continue on?
It's a little bit of both, it is who I am, and I am just going to continue on. But again, it's very difficult for anybody to stick with anything that's difficult unless there's a why. And, I want to progress. It's more about the challenge, and it's more about keeping me motivated to continue to learn. And obviously, with my aligning with Kyokushin, not too long ago, and training with Shihan Quinn as my branch chief, there's still so much for me to learn. And every time I train with anybody, it could be, Shihan Billy or you or anybody. Every time I train with somebody, there's something that I don't know. And I love that, because the minute that we stop growing and learning is the minute we die. And so, we have to keep soldiering on. But it is that motivation. And I don't know whether you listen to the podcast with Scott, but I was planning on fighting this year. I was supposed to be in Japan a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, really?
And I had planned to compete in the Kyokushin World Tournament.
Oh, okay.
Course,
yes.
The pin got pulled on that.
Yeah.
It was a toss-up between do I aim for my grading or do I aim to compete? And for some reason, even though I said for years I've retired, I'm not doing Kyokushin anymore in terms of competition. I don't feel like I finished, and I wanted to see. I just wanted to see.
Test.
And I didn't tell anyone because I was a bit unsure.
Okay.
And I told Shihan Judd because I was going down to his dojo on Friday nights.
Right.
Trying to get ready. I'd amped up my training, and of course that got stopped short. But that's still something I'm considering.
That's cool. That's cool. That's your test.
But
It's your challenge. It's your world, right? You know, so in just hearing that now, you know, good on you. Well done.
I mean, it might go bad. That's why I wanted to go to Japan to do it, because I didn't want to fight here and it'd be bad. So,
that's never been a thing for you. I'm surprised you mentioned it. You know, that's not.
No. But you know that fire. You need that fire in your belly.
Yeah,
when didn't know whether that fire was still there.
Okay, no, yeah, no, I can tell. You can tell, and well, good on you. I hope you do. I hope you do have a crack, and you won't be bad. There's no way, you know. And I'll say this part as a it's simple, but Shihan Billy used to say it to us all the time. You've already won. You've already won. You know, the work that you're doing, the you know, and if it is for this tournament, and putting in the time, the effort, the energy, and maintaining and training with the likes of Shihan Judd and his crew and all the above, you've already won. You get on the mat and you put it together, great. You know, I call it the cherry on top. You put it together, but getting there, come on now. You know, how many people are listening here?
That's the hard part, right?
Right, yeah. And Shihan, Cameron even brought that up in his podcast, in the chat that I had with him. You know, there's people that, how's it going to turn out? What's going to happen? What could we be? But that's the challenge here. This is the bit that you're so consistent with it. You've done it your whole life. You know, I get asked too. I have people ask me when we're at the tournaments, why aren't you competing? I'm like, piss off. I've done it. I've had fun. I've had my fun, and I've worked my ass off. And yes, it's
it's also much harder when you've got a family, because the amount of time you need to get to dedicate. You know, when would you see them? You'd be training. You'd be training.
Very good. Well, let's see how you go in respect to that, if that eventuates. But good on you, Sensei. It's been awesome. Lovely to speak to you. Keep up the good work. Let's just continue to promote. You're a great ambassador of Kyokushin, and more so, a big happy Mother's Day for you on Sunday coming up.
Yes, thank you.
So I'll be putting up a whole bunch of senpais and senseis and Shihans in the women's, Kyokushin and the massive influence you've all had, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. If there's anything you want to share to anyone else here, I guess more so your book, your YouTube channel and things like that, go for it. The floor is yours.
I mean, you jump on by all means. Have a look at the book if you haven't already seen it. That would be amazing, of course. And obviously we have our Facebook page. I do have a blog called Think Martial Arts. So thinkmartialarts.com, I think it's .com. I can never remember if it's .com or .com.au. So I share a lot of articles on there. I like talking all things Kyokushin, or martial arts related. So a lot of I have some opinions. The opinions are on there.
Very
good. But I'm looking forward to everybody coming back, and what I'm looking forward to most of all is everybody working with each other and remembering the communities, even though we're not exactly part of the same organization. We've had a long-standing relationship, and I'm looking forward to continuing that across the board, with everybody getting together. And my hope is that people remember, we've been separated now, not by choice, that when we have the opportunity to come together, we come together even more so now, which will be good. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sensei Kiley Baker. Thank you so much for your time. Big Us, take care.
Thank you. Us.
Us, great.